Hello, everyone. Ooh, I've got a job interview on Monday, so wish me luck on that. And yeah, I talked to Tony, who's the artist that I'm collaborating with, and I sent him some specifics on artwork for confirmed bachelors. So you cross your fingers on that too. For such a crummy time we're living in right now, I kind of feel guilty that like my life's kind of going well right now. Knock on wood. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about, more vintage Bay Area television, which I've been promising you. That's what I've been talking about for the last 3 weeks. I don't know if I'm going to be talking about that next week. I'll probably find something else to talk about. We'll see. But right now, I kind of wanted to talk about cable television because I've already talked about the community antenna and getting all the Sacramento stations and the San Francisco stations because the hill that it was located on kind of blocked off signals from Mount Sutro and Mount San Bruno, which are the peaks that all the San Francisco stations are located on. So we kind of had to have that community antenna, and we were gradually introduced to real cable via, of course, pay cable, i.e. HBO and Showtime. And the community antenna, it would just do it, normally on the regular UHF stations. There wasn't like a converter box or anything. You just plugged the cable right into the back of the TV and just switched it on the regular thing. UHF, of course, would not work on the community antenna. If you wanted to get the UHF stations, you had to turn it off and put on rabbit ears or an antenna on top of the TV, on top of the house. I think we had one of those too, an aerial, one of those ones that had the little gradiated hash marks, or I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm pretty sure we had one of those. It was hooked up next to the chimney. But yeah, we had one of those, and that was how I got TV 50 because those were not part of the Cablevision package. But the thing I wanted to talk about with HBO is we found out that if you balanced the knob between channels 6 and 7, you could get the scrambled feed of HBO. So it's just like, oh hey, look, Foul Play is on. It's just like, oh, but it's all squiggled up, and oh, never mind that. You can still hear the audio. Look, they're up to the scene with Dudley Moore. Da 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 da. Anyway, enough of me thinking back on that. Yeah, our cousins were the first ones to get Showtime, and we'd go and watch it at their house, and eventually we wound up getting HBO and Showtime, HBO and or Showtime ourselves over the years. But yeah, I remember our first cable box was one of those ones with a slider, where it had it would have click stops for each channel, and it was just like 2 through I forget what the high one was. It's like and it had the wood grain on it, like everything did in those days. It was very it was kind of like we were kind of already getting to the point where the fake wood grain paneling was already getting kind of dated. So just this new technology was already kind of looking old hat by that time. But we later upgraded to the Scientific Atlanta digital, quote unquote, cable box with the keypad on top, and that one would actually work with a remote control, but my dad was too cheap. It cost extra for the remote control. My dad was too cheap to get the remote control, so you actually had to go up to the TV and press in the buttons to get the channel you wanted. Yeah, and we might as well take this point to talk about music video, because that was a very big thing about cable television, was, of course, the introduction of MTV, and I think it was 81. I don't think it was until 82 that we got it, and I'd never even heard of it before. And MTV wasn't even my first experience with music video, and that would have been HBO's Video Jukebox. It's like HBO, as well as KBHK and all these other stations, used to have the interstitials in between their feature film programs and their other features that they would have. But Video Jukebox was, they'd have like a half-hour block of music videos, and that was where I first saw music videos. And in fact, I distinctly remember, I actually had to look it up later, but I distinctly remember the first video that I saw. It was 10cc's 125. 125 is the song title, and it was not the high point for 10cc. That was the Look Here album, which I think most people agree is probably like their worst. Well, I haven't heard the reunion albums. There's something called Meanwhile, and I think there's another reunion album, but yeah, up until the first run of albums, people generally agree that that Look Here is their worst album, but that song's not too bad. It's mainly just kind of forgettable, and it doesn't really have a really strong melody, but I think that was Godley and Cream, who weren't actually in the band anymore, who directed that video. It's just like this crazy thing of like running this guy on a gurney through a hospital or something like that. Yeah, that was the first music video I can't even remember what the other ones on that program were, but I remember that one pretty clearly. And weirdly enough, you can't find that video on YouTube anymore. I don't know what happened, but it seems to have fallen off the earth. And the funny thing is, it seemed like, you know, even though they weren't in the band anymore, Godley and Cream continued to direct videos for 10cc, because there's a later video for Feel the Love, which was off of the Windows in the Jungle album, 1983. And I think that one was Godley and Cream, too. So, who knows what was going on with that. Yeah. But I remember the first time that we got MTV, and it just showed up on the cable system one day. There was no announcement. It was just like suddenly, da-da-da-da, there you are, MTV. And my sister and I were just sort of, you know, obsessed by this. We were just like flabbergasted. And the first video I saw was like the ending of Centerfold by the Jay Giles Band, and it got to that, and the song had already peaked and fallen off the charts by that time, and I didn't even know it had a music video, therefore. But yeah, it got to the part where it got to the guy playing the drums, and it turns out to be Milk. Just remember, like, wow. But yeah, the first full video I saw on MTV was forgotten new wave act, The Trees, Come Back, and it was just like this really goofy video. It was one of those ones where like the oversaturated white background, where it's like they're just like in this sort of like limbo. That's what I remember about that. I later got the Trees album. It's actually pretty good if you like the sort of synthesizer new wave stuff. It's every song is a potential hit, but but yeah, that's the thing I remember about early MTV. And there were other music video programs, and I already mentioned California Music Channel, not Video One. We'll talk about that later. But California Music Channel, which ran on KTSF Channel 26 in San Francisco, and Rick Kurgan was the host, sort of our own homegrown Mark Goodman. But yeah, he used to host it, and I remember that one actually took requests. They never took my requests, because no one ever took my requests. But yeah, they would take requests. Probably because I would always like request really weird ass stuff like Laurie Anderson's "Oh Superman," which they never would have played. And the other thing I remember about California Music Channel was there was no Chiron. They didn't have the little Chiron in the corner, so you had to wait until he would come back and announce what the song was. And if you missed that, you were SOL, because there was no Shazam in those days, so it's just like a mystery. It's like, what the hell was that I just watched? And you'll just never know. And but Video One was out of Los Angeles. I did a little research on that. I can't even remember the guy's name. I should have written it down. Duh. But yeah, it was Richard something. He was based out of Los Angeles, but he was actually English. I could have sworn he was Australian, probably because, you know, it was the 80s and there were Australians everywhere, inexplicably for some reason. But no, he was actually English. I never knew that. But he's apparently been in, what, Girls Just Want to Have Fun? He was in a few, you know, 80s movies, probably because he was based out of LA and, you know, Hollywood. But yeah, that was my experience with cable TV. Music video. There was probably some other, Color Sounds, which is the one that ran on public television. That was the one that was supposed to teach you reading comprehension. And it would basically just, you know, music videos with captions. And the captions were color-coded so that you could, like, identify the different parts of speech, blah, blah, blah. It was supposed to teach, you know, illiterate teens how to read by doing something that they liked, you know, watching, i.e. music video. It was the 80s. But, yeah, back on the subject of interstitials, I remember HBO and Showtime would show these short films every once in a while. I can't remember what they called them on HBO, but I remember HBO had this weird little animated short film called I Like to Read While I'm Driving. And they would show that on every once in a while. I don't know if that's still up on YouTube. I remember I searched for it a while back and I posted it to all my friends and say, hey, look at this. I remember that. Do you remember this? No one else remembered it but me, but some people were amused by it at least. That's all I ask. But yeah, Showtime had the Showtime Shorts. And there's this one cartoon that my sister and I were obsessed with, and we called it Dee-da-da-da because it had the little guy going Dee-da-da-da-da-da-Dee-da-da-da. Turns out it was called Ersatz, and it was a Yugoslavian cartoon. I don't know, it was probably like Croatian or Serbian or something, but Yugoslavia was where this originated back in 1964, I believe. But yeah, we were just like really obsessed with this cartoon. And it was just like, we'd go around going dee-da-da-da-da. We never saw it again until like years later when I found it on HBO. And I shared it with my sister and she was like, oh my God, where the hell did you find this? But yeah, that was cable for you. I don't really have anything more to talk about, so I think we'll just cut it here and see you around. See you next week.